Boom, 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 boom. Now tell me what you gonna do, but it ain't nowhere to run. When judgment comes for you, when judgment comes for you, tell me what you gonna do, when it ain't nowhere to hide. When judgment comes for you, 'cause it's gonna come for you.
Making it for water, easy, see something Charlie. Little boo God's got him, and I'm gonna miss everybody out of row and flow like I ain't looked at a while. Like I'm praying for dust, and they play too deep for peace. Little legs I got to be. Tell me your feature deceased, would it please? Marry me by my grand, when you can go follow
God bless you, working on a plan to
Backbone Wrestling Network. Welcome back to the CrosUp, weekly look back at the week that was in professional wrestling. This week I'll be running through the happenings and results from Rampage on December 13th to SmackDown on December 20th, as well as the Saturday night's main event that happened not this past weekend, but the weekend before. We'll start with Rampage. We get Matt Cardona defeating Brian Keith via pinfall following the radio silence to open the show. We then get Toni Storm defeating Harley Cameron via pinfall with Storm Zero. We then get a preview of the Continental Classic match between Brody King and Commander that will happen on Collision, I believe. Or no, it's going to happen next week on Rampage. That's what it was. And then we get Deonna Purrazzo defeating Shazza McKenzie via submission with the Fujiwara armbar. And then we get Chris Statlander. She's in the bag. She's ready to move forward after her matches with Mercedes Moné and says she's still coming for that title. We then get the Don Callis family out. Don Callis is yelling about how they are getting over and making the money business, or the business money. Callis then brags about Kyle Fletcher taking out Will Ospreay and then Kazuchika Okada, and then the team of Powerhouse Hobbs and Mark Davis defeat Takeshita and Lance Archer when Hobbs hits a spinebuster on Archer, and then Hobbs grabs the international title afterwards and holds it up to close the show. Not a ton of anything outside of like a few squash matches here, but I'd say that tag match was probably the best match on Rampage, but nothing necessarily must see off of that episode. It was kind of a pretty paint by numbers Rampage, but we'll go from there to Collision. We open with a recap of Claudio Castagnoli attacking Will Ospreay on Dynamite with Darby Allin making the save. Allin then asks Ospreay to open the show to help him fight the Death Riders, but Ospreay is more focused on the Continental Classic, and he says after it's over, come see me and we'll see what we can do. We then open with the match for the spot in the International Women's Cup at Wrestle Dynasty, where Willow Nightingale defeats Jamie Hayter to secure the AEW spot in that match. She beats her with the Babe with a powerbomb. And then post-match, they shake hands, and Willow leaves, and the lights kind of go out, and Julia Hart makes her return and takes out Jamie Hayter afterwards. We then go to Okada defeating the Beast Mortos via pinfall following the Rainmaker. This gives Okada 7 points in the Gold League, which puts him only behind Kyle Fletcher, who has 9. Toni Storm then defeats Shazza McKenzie via pinfall with the Storm Zero, and then after the match declares she is all elite. So her character seemingly going forward is that she's never been in AEW. She has no memory of ever being timeless or even being in here for the little bit where she was as the normal kind of rocker Toni Storm character. So it's like she has amnesia or something to that effect. But we then get our Mariah May promo. She says she's ready to do whatever she has to do to keep the title. That includes taking out Thunder Rosa. Thunder Rosa then says she's ready for Mariah May anytime. But then Toni Storm comes in and introduces herself like nobody knows who she is and that she's brand new. She says she's excited to meet Tony Schiavone. And then she kind of, pieces out, kind of leaves a little bit. And then with that out of the way, Thunder Rosa issues a challenge at World's End for a Tijuana street fight with Mariah May. So we'll see if Mariah is willing to accept that. We then get Chris Statlander. She defeats Tootie Lynn via pinfall following the Saturday Night Fever. We then get Dustin Rhodes. He is ready to beat up the Righteous at Final Battle. So won't be covering Final Battle, but Final Battle was this past weekend for Ring of Honor. So I heard it was a pretty solid show, but I will probably check it out. But obviously haven't been covering Ring of Honor on this lately, and I don't particularly plan on picking it back up, but I may watch it just to kind of see if there were any really good matches or anything like that. But I've heard good things. We then get the Outrunners, Orange Cassidy, Daniel Garcia, and Commander. They defeat the Premier Athletes and the MXM Collection when Orange hits the Orange Punch on Josh Woods. So it was a tag match that featured the Premier Athletes. So, of course, Josh Woods took the pinfall, as he always does. We then get a Don Callis promo. He wants revenge on Mark Davis and Powerhouse Hobbs, and that's why he says Hobbs versus Takeshita at World's End is official for the International Championship. We then get Mark Briscoe. He actually defeats Kyle Fletcher in kind of an upset. He gets the Jade Driller to do so. Kyle is able to stay atop the Blue League with 9 points, but Okada and Briscoe are now behind him with 7 and 6 respectively. So just one more win from Briscoe, and he'll be tied with Fletcher atop. And then obviously if Okada gets another win, he will be in the lead. But yeah, things tightening up towards the top of the list there when it seemed like Fletcher was kind of running away with it. And then to end the show, we get the Death Riders. They kind of kidnap FTR. They attack them and kind of kidnap them to end the show. So we don't really ever see the attack, but we see them obviously get nabbed here for a little bit. But we will eventually learn that they roughed FTR up pretty bad on when we get to Dynamite. But the best match of the show was Fletcher and Briscoe, for sure. Like I said, anytime this Continental Classic thing's going on, they're going to put on really good matches. They may not be the 5-star classics that Dave Meltzer is putting them out there as, but they are all really good. So definitely check them out. But that one was the best one on this particular episode, for sure. We'll go from there to Saturday night's main event. We open with a ton of nostalgic things from the intro to Jesse Ventura opening the show with Joe Tessitore. Joe Tessitore had the old Mean Gene kind of Vince McMahon bow tie suit combination thing going on. So, and Jesse had the old the boas and the snakeskin jacket that he used to wear. He doesn't seem too impressed with Cody Rhodes and seems to be rooting for Kevin Owens to take him down and take his title. So definitely continuing to cheer the heels like he always did. But we opened the show with Drew McIntyre defeating Sami Zayn via pinfall following the Claymore. We then cut to Jimmy Hart and Tino Santana showed in the crowd. They showed some other fella. They said who he was, but I didn't bother to write it down. But he worked in production or something to that effect. But he was also there. We then get Liv Morgan defeating Io Sky via pinfall after avoiding the over the moonsault and then hitting Oblivion. And then after the match, Liv and the rest of the Judgment Day kind of were in their aisleway, and Rhea Ripley comes and they have a face off in the aisleway. We then go back to Jesse Ventura and Joe Tessitore, and Jesse talks about how big of a fan he is of Liv Morgan after that victory. We then get our U.S. Women's Title Tournament final, where Chelsea Green becomes the inaugural champion, defeating Mi Chen following the Unpretty Her. We then show Coco Beware and Greg the Hammer Valentine in the crowd. Jesse then joins commentary for the main event between Cody Rhodes and Kevin Owens, and informs us that the snake used to make the jacket that he wears wearing tonight is from Damien. So an old homage to Jake the Snake Roberts there too. And then we get our main event where Cody Rhodes defeats Kevin Owens via pinfall following the Crossroads on a chair after a lot of chicanery with refs getting taken out and and some chair stuff with the chairs and stuff like that. So a lot of chicanery at the end of that one, but Cody Rhodes does come away still a champ. But Kevin Owens did have him beat at one point, and Cody does come out with the old Winged Eagle belt. So, and then after the match, Jesse signs off the show and says it was a pleasure being there tonight. And then after the show goes off air, we actually get Kevin Owens attacking Cody Rhodes. He hits him with a package pile driver, and Cody gets wheeled out on a stretcher, and Triple H comes out to kind of ask Owens what the hell's wrong with him and stuff like that. So they get into a big shoving match. So this thing is not over between Cody and KO for sure. And it kind of ended controversially because Owens had hit the stunner and got what would have been a visual pinfall. But obviously there were no refs around. So I assume because KO stole the Winged Eagle belt too and has been carrying it around. So would assume going forward they'll have probably some type of ladder match or, some maybe a cage match of some sort to kind of for both belts because KO's kind of claiming he's a real world champion at the same time. So we'll definitely get some kind of blow off there, whether it is at the Netflix premiere or, maybe at Royal Rumble, but we'll see going forward. But we'll go to Raw from there. CM Punk opens things up. They're chanting his name to start the show. So he said, "Careful, some people might get mad if you chant my name." He says a few weeks ago, he told Seth Rollins that he doesn't think about him while Rollins always thinks about Punk. Punk is out here talking to his people. He knows that stupid music is going to play, and he's going to come tiptoeing out looking like Liberace, who Punk says he loves at the same time. So he didn't want to get that construed. But he says wearing Elton John sunglasses doesn't make you Elton John. Just like growing up a CM Punk fan doesn't make you CM Punk. If Rollins wants Punk to be the bad guy, that's fine. He fully embraces that role. He says there's no such thing as bad students, but just bad teachers, because 16-year-old Rollins is Punk's biggest failure. If he still wants the lesson, he can come out and get it. But the last person who did that was Drew McIntyre, and it didn't end so well for him. Punk has the fans chant his name, which has driven Rollins nuts for years. And then Rollins appears in the crowd cheering Punk's name himself. He said he's taking a good hard look at Punk in the ring from up here where the fans see him. And he says, not even from here, from out here, you're still an asshole. Punk then says, you still belong there with all of the CM Punk fans out in the crowd. Rollins then talks about carrying the company while Punk was gone, and that this fan has more WrestleMania main events than Punk ever will. And then Punk kind of comes and joins them in the crowd, and they brawl until referees and security break them up, and then they just continue to kind of brawl around the whole arena until they're able to actually be split. We then cut back to the Judgment Day clubhouse, and Finn Balor doesn't seem very pleased about how Saturday Night's main event went for everybody. He wants to know where everybody was during his match to help him win the world title. They talk about how good of a leader he's been lately, and things kind of seem cool between everybody except Finn, who kind of sneers when the rest of the team kind of leaves him with JD and Carlito. Seth Rollins and yells at Adam Pearce to make the match between him and Punk as soon as possible. Pearce kind of runs away to his office to say he's going to see what he can do. Drew McIntyre then comes up and says that Rollins told him to get over the whole Punk thing. And then he says, well, Roman Reigns seems to be on the way back up to the top, and they need to stop this as they are the only two that see through all the bloodline bullshit. Rollins says he's already stopped Reigns and did it with Jey Uso and Sami Zayn by his side. They're his friends, but the jury is still out on Drew. For now, Rollins is off to do what Drew McIntyre couldn't do, and that's beat CM Punk. We then get Braun Breaker retaining his Intercontinental Championship against Ludwig Kaiser via pinfall with the Super Spear. We then get Rey Mysterio kind of standing at the door of the locker room and says he doesn't want New Day dressing in there with them, says they crossed the line, said it would be better for them if they found another place to change, and they don't. And then the New Day say they don't want to be in that locker room anyways. We then get some highlights of the attack from Kevin Owens on Cody Rhodes from Saturday Night's main event and an injury update on Cody. The War Raiders then talk about how they're back after their many injuries that they've had to fight through, and they're ready to get the titles back. We then get Adam Pearce announcing that Rollins versus Punk will be official for the Raw debut on Netflix. We then get Dominic Mysterio, Liv Morgan, and Raquel Rodriguez out to the ring. The fans boo mercilessly as Dom Mysterio is trying to cut a promo, but Raquel eventually hands a bullhorn to Liv Morgan so she can brag about how great of a champion she's been. And then Morgan is ready to lead WWE into the future, but Rhea Ripley comes out to interrupt. She says this has gone long enough, and it's time to finish it for good. She says she's officially the number one contender. She's ready to get her title back. And then she says that Morgan will only have her little chicken tender slut once she takes her title back. So a pretty good insult there by old Rhea Ripley. We then get Seth Rollins. He's being asked about his match with CM Punk. when Drew McIntyre comes storming up from behind. Before McIntyre can get to him, though, Sami Zayn jumps McIntyre, and they kind of fight until it has to be broken up. We then get The Miz. He's trying to get away from the Final Testament, but Karrion Kross doesn't want to accept that. This whole thing with the Wyatt Six isn't over because it's time to take the first step against them. That's why The Miz is going to fight Dexter Lumis one-on-one next week. And then Paul Ellering says he has saved Miz twice. So Miz owes the team. Cross then reminds Miz that he is a 22-time champion, so he can do this. And then Miz leaves, and Cross says Miz is going to have to learn what happens when you make a deal with the devil. We then get Zoe Stark defeating Kaden Carter and Raquel Rodriguez in the Intercontinental Women's Tournament, so she advances with that victory. She hits the Z360 on Carter. We then get R-Truth. He's talking to the Alpha Academy and refers to Pete Dunne as Butch once again, and that pisses Pete off and Pete tells him to never call him that again, or he's going to rough him up really bad. And he comes in and really gives it to him. American Made then comes in and mocks the Alpha Academy. Chad Gable is sick of the entire team, and it's time to finish them off, starting with Akira Tozawa. So he basically challenges Tozawa to a match in the future. We then get this weird red symbol. It's like a zero with a red line slashed through it. So it looks like it just looked like a red zero with a red line slashed through it. Some people are thinking this one may be a Pentagon Junior type, vignette showing that he may be on his way to the main roster and to WWE and all that. But we'll see as we get further in the future. But that definitely flashed up there between that segment and the next. We then get New Day. They have their bags ready to go, but the Pure Fusion Collective have Kairi Sane's arm crushed between two equipment cases, and then Damage Control comes in to save her. So New Day doesn't really get their interview time like they should. So that pisses them off even more, obviously. And then we get our main event where the War Raiders become the new World Tag Team Champions, defeating JD McDonough and Finn Balor. And when they hit the War Machine on Finn. And that tag team title match was definitely the best match of the show. Braun and Ludwig was also very good, but I think the main event had a little bit more stakes, and had been building for quite a bit, and had the crescendo of the title change. So I would give the edge to that one just a little bit. We'll go to NXT from there. We get some, they're in Lowell, Mass. in the Lowell Memorial Auditorium. So we get some classic moments from that, including obviously the big moment that happened there, which was when Shawn lost his smile and all that. So had to give up the WWE title. And then we open our show with Obafemi defeating Axiom via pinfall with the Fall from Grace powerbomb. We then get Eddie Thorpe. He's ready for his title match, but Ava comes in and says Thorpe took a shortcut. Thorpe doesn't care because tonight you'll be calling him champion. And then we cut to our next scene where Carmen Petrovic isn't sure what to do, but Dion Lennox thinks she should apologize to Nikita Lyons. They hug. And obviously this is when Ashante the Adonis comes in, and he's not too impressed. He is off to text Nikita, and Lennox says he's going to keep his mind in his own business. And he continues reading, I believe, is what the next little part is. We then get the Meta Girls of Lash Legend and Jakara Jackson. They defeat Zarya and Sol Ruka when Lash Legend hits the bully drop on Sol Ruka. We then cut to a scene with last week where Tyreek Igwe and Tyson DuPont argued over another loss, but Wes Lee doesn't see anything wrong with Igwe not being happy with the loss, so maybe teasing a partnership with Wesley and the two big guys. We then get Jada Parker defeating Bryn Sinclair via pinfall following the Hypnotic. Shotzi, Tatum, and Gigi are then in the back, and Paxley says she is glad she has someone new to play with against Fatal Influence. We then cut to Fatal Influence, and they find it funny that Alba Fire and Isla Dawn are back in NXT, and they mock them for their lack of chemistry. So just a real random appearance from Alba and Isla, but they do come back here and have a little bitching match with Fatal Influence. We then go back to look at some history of the NXT Women's Championship, talking about, Charlotte and Sasha and Bailey and Asuka and Shayna Baszler, um, and everyone who has had the title up to Roxanne Perez. And then obviously they hyped that she'll defend it in 2 weeks against Julia. Fraxium then defends their tag team championships successfully over Gallus via pinfall when Axiom hits the Super Spanish Fly, and Frazier follows it with the Phoenix Splash on Wolfgang. Javon Evans then praises Hank Walker and Tank Ledger and promises to do more himself in the new year. Ethan Page then walks past and looks pretty depressed as he's headed, pretty much seems like he's headed to the ring. We then get Lexus King. He has to complete Charlie Dempsey's little training session that he has. He has to finish his workout to get a Heritage Cup match, and then Lexus is able to pull it off, and he gets his shot at the Heritage Cup in an upcoming week. We then get Ethan Page out. He says he's sorry for interrupting, but he has to get something off of his chest. No one here understands what he's going through, and he has lost everything. He can't keep his promise of winning the big one to his daughter, and he has broken promises to his family. Right now, he wants to talk to his wife, who is the reason he's here. His daughter can't find the NXT title in his bag, and his son cries when he loses. For now, he isn't sure if he loves this anymore, and he has lost his smile. We then get Javon Evans coming out, saying that this isn't the real Ethan Page. The real Ethan Page loves his family, and the smile that Evans saw when Ethan was with his family was genuine. Now he needs to drop the all ego thing and show us who Ethan Page really is. Page then says he shouldn't be worried about all of that stuff, but he should be worrying about taking Evans' smile, and then he beats the absolute dog mess out of Javon Evans. He puts this chair around his around his jaw, and he kind of Pillmanizes his jaw. It seems like he either breaks his jaw or knocks a few teeth out because Javon comes up spitting blood out, and there's blood all over the mat after this attack. So it seemed like Ethan maybe was turning a new leaf, but it appears not to be so. We then get Trick Williams. He is ready to fight. Obafemi comes in and says he hopes Williams retains because he wants to face him at New Year's Evil. We then get Stephanie Vaquer, and she has set her sights on Cora Jade going forward. So we will see when and if they have a match against each other, probably in the upcoming weeks. And then we get our main event where Trick Williams versus Eddie Thorpe ends in a double pin when Trick hits Eddie with the trick shot and kind of falls on top of him, but all four shoulders of the two guys are on the mat. I believe I read somewhere where Eddie's feet were also under the ropes, so they may. I don't envision they'll give Eddie the title, but I think they'll probably give him another shot, maybe add him to the New Year's Evil match as a way to kind of make sure that, Oba maybe doesn't win yet, but he still has kind of a reason to face Trick again. So maybe they can do it down the line at a Stand and Deliver or something to that effect. So I see him probably getting added to the New Year's Evil match. But I don't think they're going to give him the belt just because, that was the official decision, was a no contest double pin kind of situation. So, but that Fraxium Gallus match was absolutely awesome. Fraxium always puts on really good matches. So definitely check that one out, and check out pretty much anytime they wrestle. Cause they're very, very good. They're probably the tag team of the year. Not just in WWE, but in probably the world, if I'm being honest. So, but we will go from there to Dynamite. We open with Jay White. He says he isn't sure on relying on Hangman Page tonight, but he is here to shove that aside. Him and Orange Cassidy say John Moxley belongs to them tonight. And Page kind of comes in and says he wants his piece of John Moxley as well. Darby and Ospreay then both hype their match against each other later on tonight in the Continental Classic. We then open match-wise with Mercedes Moné defeating Anna Jay via pinfall with the Moneymaker to retain her TBS championship. We then get FTR. They say they had no issues with the Death Riders, despite the fact that they got their ass beaten, got kidnapped. But they are out for the rest of the year. But they will be back on January 1st to fight the Death Riders on Fight for the Fallen, and they are not coming alone. So they're seemingly bringing something. The show is in Asheville, so a lot of people are thinking that this will probably be where Edge returns. So, or Adam Copeland, sorry. But it'll probably be them versus 3 members of the Death Riders. So we then get MJF. He's out to talk. He complains to the fans, or complains about the fans' opinions, and mocks the Washington Wizards basketball team, which the fans seem to actually agree with, which is funny. He then promotes Hanukkah over Christmas. He says Hanukkah is all about giving, so he has started a charity. We then see a picture of a fake Adam Cole and a QR code to order World's End. He says, if you get the show, a portion of your purchase will go towards MJF taking care of this tiny little yellow baby. He says you can thank him later for that. But here is Adam Cole on the screen. Cole says he had a meeting with Tony Khan, and if MJF wants his Dynamite Diamond ring back, he has to deal with the Undisputed Kingdom. And then Cole pops up in the ring and super kicks MJF, who bails as Cole is starting to go for a Panama Sunrise. We then get Jamie Hayter. She says she wants Julia Hart in a match at Fight for the Fallen. We then get a Kenny Omega vignette. We then get the patriarchy of Nick Wayne and Christian Cage defeating Shibata and Hook via pinfall when Christian hits the kill switch on Shibata. We then cut to Chris Jericho. He goes around New York, walking around, claiming he's the king of the city to hype his match at Final Battle with Matt Cardona. We then get another Bandito vignette. This one's not like in the Old West like the ones have been over the previous few weeks, but still a pretty cool vignette nonetheless. We then get Mariah May. She isn't sure why Thunder Rosa is a wrestler, but she says sure they can have a Tijuana street fight for their title match. We then get Ricochet. He comes out, and before he can get very far into his promo, the Hurt Syndicate come to interrupt him. Ricochet praises their fashion sense and hopes that the team has noticed his success lately. Bobby Lashley then grabs him by the throat and by the face, and MVP says that no one likes a kiss ass. So seemingly Ricochet is trying to somewhat join the Hurt Syndicate, but they don't really like the way he's acting right now. So we'll see if that ends up happening. But Shelton Benjamin stays out and has his Continental Classic match with the Beast Mortos, where he wins via pinfall with the Exploder Suplex. This gives him 6 points in the Blue League, tying him for third with Mark Briscoe behind Fletcher and Okada. The Hurt Business then beat up Mortos, and MVP threatens Daniel Garcia. Daniel Garcia comes out with Mark Briscoe afterwards, and they have a brawl, but the Hurt Syndicate beat them down, and Shelton ends up posing with the TNT title. And then Ricochet is in the back. He's ready for Will Ospreay this weekend, but Swerve Strickland interrupts. Swerve is ready for the same old Trevor to pop up, but Ricochet promises to win the Continental Classic. So Swerve getting a little personal, calling Ricochet by his real name. So there is that. We then get Toni Storm. She sits down for a special interview segment with RJ City. She says she still can't believe she's here, and she does not remember anything that she has done in AEW so far, as RJ kind of keeps trying to pry it out of her, but she does not remember. We then get Darby Allin defeating Will Ospreay, and again, another kind of upset in the Continental Classic. He wins via pinfall after a couple of different coffin drops. This sets up a four-way tie atop the Gold League, where Will Ospreay, Darby Allin, Claudio Castagnoli, and Ricochet all have 6 points. So really tighten it up in that one for sure. You seem to kind of feel like you may know who's going to come out of the Blue League, but I think really any four of those guys could come out of it on top at this point. So, and then we get our main event where the Death Riders, represented by Jon Moxley, Pac and Wheeler Yuta defeat Orange Cassidy, Hangman Page, and Jay White when Mox rolls up Orange Cassidy after some major chaos kind of led to him being distracted. And then after the match, the Death Riders continue to attack, but eventually some more faces come out to save and run them off. That Darby Allin versus Will Ospreay, I'm going to go ahead and say is the best match of the week. So it's definitely the best match of Dynamite. So definitely go out of your way to check it out if you haven't already. And then we did not have traditional Impact this week. It was a best of show. I think they're going to do best of shows the rest of the year. So, this week and next week, we're not going to have one. So we'll go straight from there to SmackDown to close the week. We get the Bloodline out for a chat. Solo Sikoa saw Roman Reigns sitting on a boat and challenging him to tribal combat for the Netflix premiere or the Raw Netflix premiere. Sikoa suggests that instead of saying what the people should just acknowledge him. If Reigns wants to take the tribal chief to war, then let's do it. And with everyone else being left behind, Sikoa promises to use violence to make Reigns acknowledge him, and Drew McIntyre then comes out and interrupts. Sikoa says he better have a good reason for that, with McIntyre saying he'll make it quick because he's sick of being this close to Sikoa without fighting him. McIntyre wants to know if Sikoa stays up at night, wondering when McIntyre is coming for him. Sikoa cost him the WWE title at Clash of the Castle, but now he stood up to Roman Reigns. McIntyre wants the business with Reigns finished, and then the two of them can finish their business. Jimmy Uso then comes out, pulls McIntyre to the floor, and then beats him with his crutch, and McIntyre eventually bails to the crowd, and Jimmy is in hot pursuit. The Bloodline then stay at the ring and defeat the team of Andrade, LA Knight, and Apollo Crews when Solo hits the Samoan Spike on Apollo. We then get the Motor City Machine Guns. They want revenge on Johnny Gargano for the nefarious way they won the tag titles. Alex Shelley has to do this one on his own, which Chris Sabin, of course, accepts, but Alex Shelley versus Gargano is going to happen later on the show. We then look back at Chelsea Green winning the Women's United States Championship. Green is glad to win the title and make it about the red, white, and green. Once again, she should have been there a long time ago, but now she is off to Disneyland to celebrate her championship win. We take another look back at Kevin Owens losing to Cody Rhodes and taking him out after the match. Owens has stolen the Winged Eagle title and has said what happens next is in WWE's hands. We then get Johnny Gargano cutting a promo. He said he's ready to prove himself against Alex Shelley. Tommaso Ciampa is willing to stay in the back as well to make it a fair fight. It is time now, after that, for the Grayson Waller effect with Braun Strowman, who's dressed as Santa Claus and throws some presents to the fans. Waller, with Theory by his side, is worried about Strowman wrecking the new set, but Strowman isn't impressed. Theory and I misread my notes. Theory and Waller then pitched the idea of Strowman joining up. They're the brains, and then he'll be the brawn. But Strowman is absolutely, definitely not interested in that. We think Carmelo Hayes coming out to interrupt, says he was ready. He wasn't ready last week for their match. He might lose, but he'll never quit. Hayes says he wants to run it back with this big, dumb Santa Claus bitch. So really throwing it at him there. Strowman then wrecks the set, and then a match is made between the two. And then we have that match where Carmelo Hayes is actually able to defeat Braun Strowman, but it's via countout. Carmelo then quickly bails after the match, and Strowman is in hot pursuit of him after that. So obviously that'll continue in a later date. We then get Tiffany Stratton. She is ready to be ringside for Nia Jax and Candice LeRae as they win the tag team titles, but Candice suggests that Stratton go get ready for a celebration, and Stratton does not seem too pleased with that. Braun Strowman then goes looking for Carmelo Hayes, but gets distracted by Pretty Deadly. Hayes then uses them as a distraction and hits Strowman in the chair with a chair in the leg, and then kind of hits it over his back and then runs away again. We then get Johnny Gargano. He defeats Alex Shelley via pinfall when Gargano rolls through a crossbody and then holds the tights for a cheap pinfall. We then look at the Netflix kickoff event with a bunch of showdowns and promos between everybody. And Logan Paul actually showed up and said he's officially part of the Raw roster. And then they kind of run down the card that we have so far. And then Naomi and Bianca Belair are ready to retain the women's tag team titles because they are friends forever. And then they do successfully defend the tag team titles against Nia Jax and Candice LeRae when Naomi hits the split-legged moonsault on Candice LeRae for the win. And that'll end SmackDown. I thought the six-man tag between the Bloodline and the team of Knight, Andrade, and Apollo was the best match. Not a ton of matches on any of the WWE shows this week. I mean, NXT had quite a few, but Raw only had 3 matches, and I'm pretty sure SmackDown only had 3 as well. So not a ton of in-ring action on these WWE shows this week, but they're trying to build to the Netflix Raw. They're coming off of Saturday night's main event, so they got a lot going on. So they're just trying to get a lot of stories pushed in certain directions. So it's totally understandable. But as far as TV match rankings, I did the Saturday night's main events as a pay-per-view, even though I know it's not really a pay-per-view or a PLE or anything like that, but I gave them kind of their own separate section. But TV match rankings, like I said, Darby Allin and Will Ospreay was the best match of the week, without a doubt. I would give Fraxium and Gallus the second spot. I thought that was a really, really well-worked and good tag team match. The Raw tag team title match would be next for me. I think that was a really hot match with a good finish, and obviously a title change always bumps it up a little bit. Braun Breaker and Ludwig Kaiser would be the number 5 or the number 4 spot for me. Anytime Braun can get in a match on Raw, and even Ludwig at this point, he's those are 2 of the better TV workers out there for sure. And if you give them time, they can really put something special together. And then Kyle Fletcher versus Mark Briscoe from Collision would be my number 5 for this week. And then we'll go to the Saturday night's main event match rankings. Like I said, match of the night for me was Cody versus KO. Drew and Sammy would be number 2. Heavyweight triple threat would be number 3. Liv and Io would be number 4, and Chelsea and Michin would be number 5. Chelsea and Michin probably could be number 4 just based on the moment, but it was not the best match, I will say. But neither women's match had much oomph to it. Like I said, the U.S. title final was cool just for the title change or the crowning the first champion. But I'd say all the men's matches pretty much delivered. I think in future scenarios, I think they'll probably put a few less matches on one of these than this, because it seemed like they really rushed through a couple of them. As good as KO and Cody was, it could have been a lot better, I think, and will be when they eventually face off again. But just maybe a little too rushed. Maybe added maybe one too many matches, but they'll figure it out and they'll get it better in the future. But that'll wrap it up for the week. Like I said, kind of a shorter week with no impact. So definitely check out the matches that I suggested. But everybody have a Merry Christmas, and I will see you for the New Year's episode next week.